You try to enter through force. You can't bulldoze into people. La ikraha fi din, that also is one of the meaning. You have to find out how best they can be approached and entered into. And that can't be done in a hurried meeting on the way. If you are approached like this by some Sikh or some Jain or some Buddhist, that would be your answer. You please go ahead. I'm quite satisfied. Go ahead. Take your time.
We do that in our lives, and when we are sitting, in an office or somewhere, we first start with this one that if I want to tell you something, there's like a deal. We always tell them either you accept my arguments or not. You are always open to that. Then we start talking to them, and in a mood, sometimes they talk, we don't need religion or anything like that.
That is the right time for you to change your approach. This is what I'm trying to do.
No, we are changing different approaches.
So that's the best answer.
We are doing that. But
the fact is,
from Hazur to little more
this is what I'm telling you.
how we can have the right approach.
Please, I'm telling you this. This approach, whenever somebody gets disinterested, it is not a time to shake him up. It is a time to wake yourself up and to make yourself realize that now I must find a different way, different path. It is like a speaker once said during his speech that if one of the audience dozes off, wake me up. You understand the message? So I should be woken. The fact is that only people go to sleep, except for some tired people who are excessively tired. It is in generalizations one can say when a speaker is off the track, he is not paying full concentration to his subject, he is not awake fully to the importance of his subject, only then the audience go to sleep. So instead of saying wake him up, this speaker said, if one of the audience goes to sleep, wake me up. Remind me that you're off the track. So that is the time when somebody loses interest in your talk. That's the time to wake yourself up and to realize that I must change my subject. Unless you become interesting to someone, nobody is going to listen to you. Make yourself interesting. Even if you have to do something odd. Sometimes in Qadian I remember a gentleman by the name of Mr. Abdur Rahman. He wore a different dress from the rest of the people. He wore a chola on which the decision of Chawla, what was the judge, the name? Khosla. Was written, is cried all over, and he went about with that chola. Everyone became interested in him and asked questions, and then he started answering because he was interesting to others. So sometimes people have to do that, but it is not only through an odd dress that you become interesting. Sometimes that interest which you create is not at all a productive interest. Sometimes people take you too lightly and have a word of laughter and then go their way. So I just indicate that sometimes people have to do that as well. Like during this visit to this Alhambra in 1982, one of Ahmadi religious from Rabwa dressed himself in a manner that he became a source of interest for everybody. People crowded around him and asked him about what he was and where he hailed from, and then he started preaching to them in a manner he knew. To become interesting, then people would be interested. And to become interesting, you must know the points of others' interest. What what are the subjects in which they are interested. Without knowing that, you can't be interested. So learn this from conversation by knowing them more, by feeling them as if you find out what are their points of interest. And then talk of those points of interest and somehow steer them into religious topics and relate them to religious topics. And drop a hint or two about what Islam has to say on those points of interest. So they will be caught up. I think without this, you can't become a good preacher. But I can't tell you to which particular person what approach you should take. I can only give you a generalized approach about yourself. That should be applicable in every situation. But the answer would differ from place to place, from occasion to occasion. No, I'm clear? So somebody should say, Adhan, it's the only one question you were able to ask, unfortunately, because his one question was very long. You know, he tricked you out. Next time you give him time for one question at the end, right? And take up the floor first.
No, I asked him that, he asked me, in fact, about some questions. I wanted to avoid it on this. Because I said, if you, the other day, I answered him yes, and he said, he has got one question. So today I wanted to avoid, but still he took out from me.
He is very clever. Although he appears to be a simple man, but within he is very clever.